Hello everyone. Today I'd like to show you a game between Rashid Nesmetdinov, who was a renowned player that had many brilliant games, and Mikhail Tal, the world champion at that time. White starts the game with e4, and black chooses to play the Sicilian defense. Then white develops the knight to f3, black plays d6. Then, white plays d4, to which black responds by taking on d4, and white then retakes with the knight, so we have an open Sicilian. Black then develops his knight to f6, and white develops his other knight to c3, defending his center pawn. Black plays e6, which is called the Scheveningen variation. Then white develops his bishop to e2, and black responds with a6, then white castles. Black plays queen to c7, and white plays f4, which is the most common choice in this position. Then, black responds with knight b to d7. In this position, white makes his intentions clear that he's here to fight, by playing a very aggressive move. He plays g4 starting an attack on the king side as early as move 9. But black is still a world champion. He immediately starts his counterplay on the queen side by playing b5, effectively stopping any g5 ideas by white, because he will be in time with the counter b4. So instead of continuing his attack on the king side, white takes his time by playing a3, slowing down black's queen side attack. Black plays bishop to b7, putting pressure on white's center pawn on e4. White defends the pawn by playing bishop to f3. Black puts more pressure on the pawn by playing knight to c5, and white defends the pawn again with his queen. Black here makes his first mistake of the game. He plays e5, attacking the knight and probably hoping for a simplification that kills white's hopes of a kingside attack. But he underestimates white's idea of jumping with the knight to f5. He tries to kick the knight out, but white doesn't have to retreat with the knight and can just take on e5, counter-attacking black's knight. So black takes on e5 instead of going into a knight trade that only benefits white. Then, white jumps with the knight to h6, limiting black's ability to castle. Black plays the only move that doesn't give white a big advantage, which is knight to e6, then white plays bishop to g2. Black here plays a very natural move, which is bishop to g7, protecting the knight, which is attacked now because white moved his bishop. But this is actually a mistake, because white can play the brilliant move rook takes knight on f6. Black takes the rook, and white keeps his initiative by playing knight to d5. Black can't take the knight because it leads to a crazy engine line in which white is somehow much better, so black defends the bishop by playing queen to d8 instead. White plays queen to f2, putting more pressure on the bishop on f6, and black plays knight to f4, blocking the way with his knight. White decides to take the knight with his bishop, which is the only move according to the engine. And after black retakes on f4, he pushes the pawn to e5, which according to the engine loses his advantage, because he had to just take the free pawn with the queen. In any case, e5 does have a nice idea behind it if black takes, which does happen in the game. The idea is to play rook to e1, pinning the bishop to the king. And although it looks like black can just defend it with the pawn, white has an amazing tactical continuation. He sacks the knight on f6, and after black takes with the queen, he plays the very cool move queen to d4. And although black is up a full rook, it's plus 5.6 for white and the two black bishops are hanging. Black plays the desperate move king to f8, to avoid losing the bishop with check. So white takes the bishop with the rook, threatening some discoveries on the black queen, so black moves his queen to d8, hoping for a queen trade that actually is also losing, although perhaps with slightly better chances to draw. But white here played the final brilliant move of the game. He plays rook to f5, and after black takes, white takes the rook on the corner and starts hunting the black king. White here plays the final finishing touch. G takes f5 check, and black resigns because he can only play king to d6 and allow a royal fork on f7. If you enjoyed the video, check out more content on the channel.